There's a major storm in the Southern Ocean. Kia ora, hello, I'm Philip Duncan with your weekend weather update, recorded on Friday, the 2nd of February. And no surprises what the main feature is on the weather map today, this gigantic area of low pressure. It's got a number of centres to it, but mostly it is centred south of New Zealand, and it takes up the entire Southern Ocean from south around Antarctica to north to New Zealand, and in fact, most of the Tasman Sea as well. So this is a very big system, followed by another storm that's further away from us, but it just keeps that unsettled weather pattern down here. It keeps it going, which means Southland and Otago and Fiordland have got a fairly unsettled week coming up, but many other places are going to improve. There's a big area of high pressure just out here, south of Australia, and believe it or not, that is going to be coming in as early as Sunday. So let's try and make sense of what I've just talked about. Here we are going into tomorrow. So the main centre of the storm, 954, very low air pressure, especially for this time of the year, but the Southern Ocean does produce storms from time to time. So this one here, stretching all the way up and way over here, just past the Saturday sign, you've got that high pressure belt. So it's just waiting in the wings, but this is a windy Saturday. Gale force winds could be severe for a time in Auckland as we go through the day. Wellington, most of your wind, the peak of it will be later on today, Friday. It eases back a little bit into the weekend. There's a small area of low pressure, just sort of eases things a little bit. But Wellington's basically got 7 days of strong winds coming through. They're going to be squeezing through Cook Strait. Even if the weather is mostly dry, you don't have as much rain as you might want to be getting through. And eastern areas get a little bit of wet weather, but most of it is over on the western side of the North Island, perhaps a little bit more for Canterbury, which would be welcome in North Canterbury to get a bit of wet weather there. And the last feature, the cooler air coming through here, it'll be much cooler for you on Saturday in Southland and Otago and Fiordland. It'll be cooler elsewhere as well, but you'll notice it the most down there. So by Sunday, there's a complete change. That storm, it's gone already. Now remember the other one I mentioned that was way off in the corner? That's just encouraging more of these windy westerlies, but also the placement of the high is encouraging this northwesterly out of Australia. And so, yes, it's still windy in the weekend for some parts of the South Island, mostly through the mountains and around Cook Strait, but it will lift your temperatures back up. So Saturday's a bit cold, so much for summer. People will be saying that again. Or is summer over? Some will be saying that. But I think by Sunday, most of you will be thinking, oh no, it's still pretty warm. And once we get to Monday, warmer still. The red line measures air thickness. And so north of that line, tropical, humid, warm to hot airflows. So that is coming out towards us. The red line doesn't have to come over us for us to feel the heat. But that is the nor'wester there. And then, of course, we all know a nor'wester warms up even more as it moves over the mountains. But there are rain clouds back again. Unsettled weather carries on in the Southern Ocean, but high pressure further to the north. Beautiful Monday across the North Island and much of the South Islands as well. Canterbury, northern parts of the West Coast, Nelson, Marlborough, all of you are looking pretty good. So let's go to Waitangi Day, Tuesday, and at Waitangi itself, it is looking really good. Probably a light breeze off the sea, which will be good, keep conditions a little bit cooler, but it'll be very hot inland. We'll be getting up to the late 20s for some areas. Now that windy weather carries on through Wellington and Cook Strait. The rain, mostly from Haast southwards, but a few showers will come into Southland and annoy a few people there because the summer weather pattern in Southland has not been so summer-like, is probably the kindest way to say it. Now, as we move through into Wednesday, a little bit of a cold front comes up the South Island. There's not much. The North Island is still pretty much stuck under high pressure. Now, remember the red lines I was telling you about? North of that, it's hot and tropical. Well, you can also get it to form when we get a nor'wester or the wind just heats up to the right amount. So pretty hot weather conditions coming through on Wednesday for the eastern side of the North Island. Summer won't be quite so hot at the other end of the country. And by Thursday, look at the big picture. Plenty more high pressure coming through. Summer's not over, but it is still a little bit cooler in Southland. There's a bit of a southerly flow coming in for you. And so, yeah, it does stay a little bit unsettled for the lower portion of the South Island. It's still a bit windy through Cook Strait. May not be so bad by Thursday of next week, and a slight southerly flow further northwards. One last thing, all these lows in the tropics are likely to become a tropical storm at some point. These two here are the highest risk ones, but it's a long way out. Can't lock that stuff in this far out, but there's a lot of energy up in the tropics, so it is a very unusual El Nino, that is for sure. Before I go, don't forget our new app. please download it. You can use the QR code here. It's really helpful for weather that we've got coming in at the moment. It's especially good when you set up your own warnings and alerts for wind and temperatures. They are the most accurate. And that's because the data, you don't need so much from the New Zealand government for us to be able to forecast that. Rain's a bit harder. We're working on with Met Service to improve rain radar information that goes into our warnings and alerts. But for now, with this big blast coming in, and you're playing around with the set your own criteria for your own alerts, then you'll notice that temperatures and wind are both pretty good and really helpful to work out if you're about to get frost, by the way. Not that we're getting frost with this, but that season is not far away now, only a month or so away, and we could be getting back into that sort of territory. Anyway, that is all from me. Have a great weekend. We'll be back on Monday as we update you for Waitangi Day Tuesday. Have a great weekend.